let's go to page 69 on the handout. So this is the handout. And so this is factoring. And this factoring is the step 2b, the 3 terms. Okay? And so let's go over some examples. So let's go and start with number 1. Okay, so for number 1, you have x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay, so you do the step 1 common factor. So cannot do the number. This one you cannot do the x. So step 1 is done. So you go to step 2. So when you got 3 terms, you check for the perfect square. So this is your perfect square. This is a perfect square. So in this case, you want to go and get your form ready. So this is your template. Okay, this is your template. And so from this, you want to guess what goes in here. So to get these, you have to have an x, right? So x squared will give you that, right? And from here, so to get 1, you need to have a plus 1 square, right? But right now, you're just guessing. Okay, so right now, you're just guessing. Now, to check if your guess is correct, you have to make sure the middle term match. And the middle term came from multiply all this together. So 2 times 1 times 2 give you 2x, so it match. So therefore, this is your correct answer. So your answer would be x plus 1 squared. Okay? Again, the middle came from this is because if you go back and do the multiplication, when you have x plus 1 squared, this is equal to x plus 1 times x plus 1. And when you're doing the FOIL method, you get x squared, multiply, you get plus x, multiply, you get plus x, multiply, you get plus 1. So notice there are 2 of these. See, there are 2 of these because they're square. Because of square, there are 2 of these. And when you multiply, you're going to get 2 of these. And so that's where the 2 came from. Okay? So you can, the square, that means there are 2 factors. And when you multiply, you're going to get 2 of these. And therefore, you get the 2 from there. Okay? So this 2 came from multiplying these together. Okay? So the middle term is multiplying. So when you guess and you check if it's correct. Okay? So let's go and do number 3. So number 3 over here, you have x squared plus 10x plus 25. So step 1, common factor. Cannot factor the number, there's no number. Cannot factor the x because there's no x. So step 1 is done. So make sure you go through the checklist. So step 1, common factor, cannot. They don't have anything in common. So you go to step 2, special factor. 3 terms, you check for perfect squares. Okay, so 3 terms check for perfect square. So this is a perfect square, this is a perfect square. So right away, you want to make it into a perfect square, right? So again, when you have the perfect square, you get your template ready. And you're going to guess and check. So to get x squared, you need to have an x, right? So from this, I get this, right? Now to get these, I need to have a plus 5, okay? Because plus 5 squared will give you 25. But again, right now you're just guessing. So you have to check if your guess is correct by see if the middle term match. So 2 times 5 is 10. 10 times x is 10x. So it match. And so that's your answer. Okay. Okay, now let's go to number 5. You have 9x squared minus 6x plus 1. So step 1, common factor, cannot do the number because 1, you cannot do any factor with 1, right? And then, so you do the variable, there's no x, so cannot. So step 1 is done. So you go to step 2, again, 3 terms, check for perfect square, right? Again, step 2b, right? 3 terms, check for trinomial square or the perfect square, right? So again, this has to be perfect square. These 2 have to be perfect square. So once these are perfect squares, you get your template ready, right? And you're going to guess. So what square will give you 9? 3, right? 3 square give you 9, and you need to have an x, right? X squared give you x, right? Now to get 1, you need to get plus 1, right? So again, from this you get that, from this you get that, and from this you get that. Again, all you're doing right now is guessing. Now you have to check, okay? Now when you check, notice 2 times 1 is 2 times 3, give you positive 6, but this is negative 6. So the sign does not match, so you have to change the sign, okay? You need to get negative because negative square is still give you positive, right? So from this we know that this sign had to match that, okay? So the sign had to match. So now let's go and check again. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, times 3 is negative 6, and the x will match. So once you match, then that's your answer, okay? Okay, so let's go and do more negatives. So let's go to let's go to 11. So you got x squared minus 18x plus 81. Okay, so again, step 1, common factor. Cannot factor the number because there's no number. Cannot factor the x because there's no x. So step 1 is done. So you go to step 2, 3 terms. Check for perfect square. Yeah, this is a perfect square. This is a nice square. So this is a perfect square. So get your template. So from this, get x, right? And we know from before that when this is negative, you need to have a negative to match, right? And you can get 9, right? Because negative square is still give you positive, right? So again, from this, you get that, right? So again, from this, you get that. From this, you get that. Okay? So check. Again, x squared give you x squared. 9 squared give you 81. And now check the middle. So sign match, right? 2 times 9 is 18 match. X match. So that's your answer. Okay. Okay, now let's go and do a couple more examples. Okay, so again, this is the page 69. The H stands for handout. Okay, and let's go and do, well, let's pick 27. Okay, so you got 25 p squared minus 80 pq plus 64 q squared. Right? Okay, so again, step 1, common factor. Can you factor anything? No, this only can factor 5, but none of this can do the 5, so cannot do the number. And you cannot do the p because there's no p. You cannot do the q because there's no q. Okay, so step 1 cannot. So step 2, check for 3 terms. You can go back to the checklist, right? Okay, 3 terms, check for perfect square, right? I can look it over here, right? 3 terms, check for perfect squares. So this is perfect square. This is a 5 square, p square, a square, q square. So everything is all square. I check these 2. Make sure everything is all square in that. So in this case, they are good. So get your form ready. So now to think, okay, what square give you 25? 5, right? 5 square give you 25. And you need to get p, right? P square give you p square, right? Over here, to get 64, you need to have an 8, right? 8 square give you 64. And q square give you q square, right? In the middle, the sign have to match that, right? Again, all you do is just use that to guess that, use that to guess that, use this to guess this, use guess, right? But now you have to check see if the middle to match. Again, when things get complicated, you match one thing at a time. So first you match the sign, then you match the number. 2 times 5 is 10, times 8 is 80, so number match. Then you match up the variable, you got p and the q, you got p and the q. So everything match, and so that's your answer. Okay, let's go do number 31. You got a plus b squared plus 2a plus b plus 1. Okay, so step 1, common factor. You cannot factor the number, there's no number. You cannot do the variable because there's no variable. You cannot do the group. This is a group, right? But there's no group over here. So you go to step 2. Okay, this is one term. Remember, addition, subtraction inside the grouping symbol does not count, right? So there are 3 terms. For 3 terms, you have to check for perfect square, right? So this is a perfect square, right? It tells you right over here, right? And this is a perfect square because 1 square is 1, right? So again, get your parentheses, right? So now to get the parentheses square, you need to have a plus b, right? So a plus b squared, that's how you get these, right? And this one you need to get plus 1. Now you check the middle term. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times parentheses is 2 parentheses. So everything match. And now you can simplify it a little bit. You can simplify this. So you get a plus b plus 1 square. And that's your answer. Okay, let's do number 33. So you got r minus s squared minus 2 times r minus s plus 1. Okay, again, step 1, common factor. Cannot factor the number, no number, right? Cannot do the alphabet, no alphabet. Cannot do the group because there's no group. So step 1 is done. So you go to step 2. Okay, step 2, again, there are 3 terms. There are 3 terms, so you have to do the squares, right? So from here, you're going to get r minus s parentheses, right? Again, this is parentheses square, so you need to have parentheses square to get parentheses, right? Over here, you need to have 1, but but the sign has to be negative, right? Again, sign always match the middle. Okay, and then you check. So -1 times 2 is -2 times parentheses is -2 parentheses, right? Oh, watch this over here. Okay, you have to be careful. It's r minus s. Okay, so you have to watch, make sure everything all match. Okay, so now you have to simplify the inside. So you just get rid of the parentheses, the small parentheses on the inside. So you got r minus s minus 1 square, and that is your answer. Okay, so this is the step 2b. This is the spatial factoring for the trinomial square. When you have a trinomial square, when this is a square, this is a square.